Hey everyone, welcome. So, let's talk about music. You know that feeling, right? When a song comes on and it just hits you? It can give you actual goosebumps, or make you want to jump up and dance, or maybe even make you feel a little sad. How does that even work? How can a bunch of sounds have that much power over our feelings?
Well, what if I told you it's not magic? It's actually a kind of secret code that composers have been using for hundreds of years to pretty much tell us how to feel. And today, you and I, we're going to crack it. To figure this code out, we first have to see how it was written. So we're going to take a super quick trip back in time to see how all these composers and musicians figured out how to basically hack our emotions.
We're going to hit 5 major stops on our journey: the Baroque, Classical, Romantic, Impressionist, and the modern eras. Each one added its own little tricks to the playbook, kind of building on what came before. Ready? Let's do this.
Okay, first stop, the Baroque era. The best way to think about this stuff, it's basically the original boss battle music. Seriously, it's all about high drama, big stakes, and really powerful emotions.
Composers like Bach and Handel were masters of this. They created that epic feel by using these huge dramatic contrasts. Like 1 second it's super loud and intense, and the next it's whisper quiet. The melodies are really detailed and complex, all designed to hit you with one single strong emotion, just like when you're facing that final boss in a game.
So after all that drama, things started to change. Composers wanted something a little different. And that brings us to the classical era. Now, if Baroque music was a wild boss battle, think of this era as a perfectly balanced pro sports team. For guys like Mozart, it was all about balance, clarity, and order. They wanted to express emotions, sure, but in a much more controlled and, refined way. Every part of the orchestra had a very clear job, just like players on a team. The melodies were clean and easy to follow. Everything just worked together perfectly. But of course, you can't have rules without people wanting to break them. So next up, the Romantic era. This is where music gets huge. This is your epic blockbuster movie score, the kind that's designed to give you all the feels.
Composers like Tchaikovsky just threw the rulebook out the window. They weren't holding back. They used these massive orchestras to create incredibly powerful, super dramatic music. They were telling huge stories about things like love, nature, and heroism. They wanted to take you on a massive emotional roller coaster.
Okay, so after all that epic drama, music took another turn. Welcome to the Impressionist era. I want you to think of this like a dream sequence in a movie, or maybe like putting a really cool, hazy filter on a picture for social media. It's not about the story, it's about the vibe.
So instead of telling you this big, dramatic story, composers like Debussy were trying to paint a picture with sound. They were all about creating a specific mood or atmosphere, like a feeling of mystery or dreaminess. They used these soft, shimmering sounds that were a total reaction to the emotional overload of the Romantics.
And that finally brings us to the modern era. And this is where composers basically decided to break all the rules. Think of it like an experimental glitch in a video game, where everything starts to get a little weird and unpredictable. Composers like Stravinsky started experimenting with everything. They used notes that clashed on purpose, crazy rhythms you couldn't tap your foot to, and even started playing with electronic sounds. The emotions here got way more complex, sometimes chaotic, sometimes confusing. They totally rewrote what music could even be.
Okay, so that's how the code changed over time. But what are the actual cheat codes? How do composers target our feelings so precisely? Let's open up the toolkit and take a look.
Honestly, it can be almost like a recipe. It's surprisingly simple. You want to make someone feel happy or joyful? Okay, use a fast tempo, play in a major key, which just sounds brighter, and use a lively rhythm. Boom. Instant joy. Want to create sadness? Just flip the recipe. Use a slow tempo, a minor key, which sounds way more serious, and softer sounds. It's like a direct switch for our emotions.
But what about feelings like tension or fear? Well, for that, composers have a secret weapon. It's called dissonance. This is when they play notes together that are supposed to clash. It creates this unstable, tense sound that is literally designed to make you feel uncomfortable. Think about it. Dissonance is that screechy, awful chord you hear in a horror movie right before the monster jumps out. You know the one? It's the sound that screams at your brain something is wrong. That feeling of unease? Totally intentional.
All right, we've seen how the code evolved, we've looked at the tools composers use, now let's put it all together. This is the ultimate emotional cheat sheet.
When you see it all laid out, the code becomes so clear. Joy, fast tempo. Sadness, minor key. Fear, that's that clashing dissonance we just talked about. A feeling of calm, you get a smooth, flowing melody. And anger, that's all about loud, aggressive dynamics. See, there's a clear pattern for almost every feeling.
So there you have it. The code is cracked, you officially have the key, and this is going to change how you listen to music forever. So here's the #1 thing to take away from all this. Music isn't just a bunch of random sounds. It is a powerful, unspoken language. Composers use this whole toolkit, tempo, keys, harmony, to purposefully guide you on an emotional journey, whether you even realize it's happening or not. And that means, from this moment on, when you put on your headphones, you're not just a listener anymore. You're a code breaker. You can actually spot the tricks and understand why a certain song makes you feel the way it does.
So, I'll leave you with this challenge. Think about your favorite playlist right now. Pick a song. What's the first one you're going to try and decode with your new skills?